On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a man dressed in a business suit, carrying a black briefcase, boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 from Portland to Seattle. He appeared calm, polite, and oddly forgettable. But within minutes of takeoff, this quiet passenger handed a flight attendant a chilling note, claiming he had a bomb. What followed was one of the boldest acts of sky piracy in U.S. history, and it birthed a legend, the man now known only as D.B. Cooper. For over 5 decades, law enforcement, journalists, and amateur sleuths have obsessed over one question. Who was he? And now, new discoveries, including a parachute and logbook tied to a convicted hijacker, have reignited the mystery and shaken up one of the greatest unsolved cases in American history. Could this finally be the break we've been waiting for? Let's dive deep into the past and explore the new evidence that might solve the riddle of D.B. Cooper once and for all. Thanksgiving Eve, 1971. Dressed in a dark suit with a skinny black tie, the man who called himself Dan Cooper sat in seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda, then handed the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner, a note. At first, she assumed it was a phone number, until he leaned in and whispered, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." Inside his briefcase, he revealed red sticks connected by wires and a battery, convincing enough to cause panic. He then dictated his demands: $200,000 in cash for parachutes and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. The crew complied, and once the ransom and parachutes were delivered at Seattle-Tacoma Airport, he let the 36 passengers off, but kept the crew on board. The plane took off again under Cooper's instructions: low altitude, flaps down, heading for Mexico City, somewhere over the rugged wilderness of Washington. He jumped, disappearing into a stormy night, with no clear trace ever found. He was never seen again. The FBI launched what would become one of the most expensive and longest-running investigations in Bureau history. Hundreds of suspects were interviewed, tips poured in for decades, but no one was ever charged. Even the $200,000 in marked cash vanished, until 1980, when a young boy camping near the Columbia River found a decaying bundle of $5,800 in cash, rubber-banded together, matching the serial numbers from the ransom. But no body, no parachute, no definitive evidence of Cooper's fate was ever found. Over the years, suspects came and went. Theories circulated like wildfire, from CIA agents to Vietnam vets. Some believed he died in the jump. Others said he changed his identity and vanished into society. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016, but the public never stopped searching. Now here's where things get eerily familiar. Just 5 months after the D.B. Cooper hijacking, on April 7th, 1972, another man, Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., a Vietnam veteran and former Green Beret, hijacked a plane from Denver to Los Angeles. He demanded $500,000 for parachutes and, just like Cooper, jumped from the rear staircase of the aircraft mid-flight. He was caught within days, thanks to a sketch, fingerprints, and handwriting. McCoy was sentenced to 45 years, but escaped prison by creating a fake handgun out of dental paste. He died in a shootout with the FBI in 1974. Ever since, many have argued McCoy was D.B. Cooper, pointing to the hijacking method, military parachuting experience, and striking physical similarities. But the FBI insisted the evidence wasn't strong enough to link the two crimes. Until now, fast forward to late 2024, when aviation YouTuber and retired airline Captain Dan Grider received a shocking message. The children of Richard McCoy had found a mysterious parachute rig and a skydiving logbook hidden in a barn in Craven County, North Carolina. It had been stored away for decades, possibly by McCoy himself. Grider immediately recognized the parachute as a rare military issue from the Vietnam War era, nearly identical to the ones D.B. Cooper allegedly used. He called it a 1 in a billion find. The gear, carefully preserved, had never been turned over to investigators until now. With the help of McCoy's children, the chute and documents were handed over to the FBI in September 2023, reviving interest in a case long thought dead. So, could this be the smoking gun? FBI agents are now testing the parachute harness and logbook for DNA, comparing it to genetic material found on the only physical clue D.B. Cooper left behind, his clip-on tie. In recent years, microscopic metal particles found on the tie suggest that Cooper may have worked in aerospace engineering or at a metal plant, but DNA analysis has never yielded a confirmed match. If DNA on McCoy's old parachute lines up with anything from Cooper's tie, it could confirm what many have believed for decades, that Richard McCoy and D.B. Cooper were the same man. In March 2025, the FBI made another surprising move. They released 472 pages of never-before-seen documents from the D.B. Cooper investigation. These files included interviews, suspect lists, and field notes from the original manhunt. While much of it was redacted, some intriguing details surfaced. For example, agents tracked leads on suspects with unique knowledge of aircraft, rigging parachutes, and working in Boeing facilities near Seattle. There were dozens of suspects named Cooper, including one who claimed the hijacking was just a test. The files also revealed how serious the FBI took the McCoy theory, contradicting their earlier stance that he wasn't a likely match. Why cover up back then? Politics, lack of conclusive evidence, or something deeper? From Netflix specials to Reddit deep dives, the mystery of D.B. Cooper continues to fascinate new generations. Was he a folk hero, a criminal mastermind, or a desperate man trying to rewrite his fate? Some still believe he survived and lived quietly under a new identity. One man even confessed on his deathbed. Another claimed he was Cooper during a bar fight. Yet none of these confessions ever stood up to scrutiny. The mystery refuses to go away. And with each new discovery, the line between fact and folklore only gets blurrier. Even after more than half a century, the shadow of D.B. Cooper still looms over American folklore. He wasn't just a hijacker. He became a cultural phenomenon, a mystery that lived on longer than the crime itself. And now, with the discovery of a parachute in a dusty North Carolina barn, and a logbook that could link the crime to one man, the mystery has found new life. People are asking again, was the case finally solved? Or is this another dead end in a never-ending maze of theories and misinformation? What's clear is that Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., a man with military-grade parachuting skills, a track record for hijacking planes, and even a similar criminal playbook, has always been one of the most compelling suspects. His death in 1974 may have cut off a chance at a confession. But his children, their discovery, and the revived DNA analysis have brought him right back into the spotlight. If the FBI confirms that the parachute or logbook carries McCoy's DNA, and it matches materials from Cooper's tie or anything collected back in 1971, then history may be rewritten in real time. But even then, we're left with more questions than answers. Did McCoy pull off the greatest disappearing act in aviation history, only to get caught repeating it months later? Why would he risk everything again? Or was he simply inspired by Cooper, mimicking his playbook in hopes of success? And if McCoy wasn't Cooper, then who was? That's the haunting beauty of this story. Every answer births a dozen more theories. Every maybe keeps the myth alive, even stronger than before. But the real question is this: why does the world still care? Why does D.B. Cooper matter? Because in an age of surveillance, digital footprints, and constant connectivity, the idea that someone could outsmart the system, hijack a plane, collect $200,000, and simply vanish without a trace is unfathomable today. Cooper represents a kind of anti-hero. He didn't hurt anyone. He was described as calm, even polite, and yet he did something incredibly dangerous, incredibly illegal, and did it flawlessly. There's a reason he became the subject of songs, TV shows, books, and thousands of Reddit posts. It's because his story taps into something primal: our love of mystery, our obsession with people who defy the odds, and our deep desire to believe that maybe, just maybe, some people really can disappear. But there's a darker side too. D.B. Cooper also represents failure, not just of airport security, but of institutions, of trust, of the FBI, which spent decades chasing shadows only to close the case without a name. That hurts their reputation. and some believe the truth may have been buried to protect it. Think about this. If the FBI really knew it was McCoy, but couldn't prove it, what would it say about their competence? Would they admit it, or quietly move on? The discovery of that parachute, the logbook, and the renewed DNA testing might finally crack the case. But if the FBI stays silent on the results, the silence itself might speak volumes. And let's not forget something important. This case wasn't just a caper. It was an act that changed how we fly. After D.B. Cooper, the FAA required planes to have Cooper vanes, a latch to prevent rear staircases from being lowered mid-flight. Airport security tightened. Passenger screenings increased. Cooper forced the system to adapt. All from one man, one jump, one impossible escape. If the case is closed, officially, it'll be the end of a chapter. But the myth, that will live on. There will always be new theories, secret confessions, and backyard discoveries. Because D.B. Cooper became more than a criminal. He became a ghost story in a business suit. A puzzle with just enough missing pieces to stay forever unsolved. And in a world that increasingly thrives on answers, facts, and surveillance, the mystery of D.B. Cooper is a rare thing. A legend that refuses to be caught. So whether Richard McCoy was the man who jumped into history, or just another impersonator lost to time, the mystery remains stronger than ever. And the next clue, it could be out there, waiting to be found, or maybe it's already in plain sight, hiding in the shadows of a case that never really closed. Stay curious, because the truth might still be falling through the sky.